Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers, available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. As you can hear, as always, my voice is not what it should be, or perhaps it's actually slightly more attractive than usual. But that's not important. What is important is that in the long history of podcasts, one thing that almost every single podcast has in common is that there are a collection of missing episodes. This one is no exception. Over the last far too many years, 13 now? There have been a collection of missing episodes. The most famous of which was the anniversary episode of the Doctor Who podcast. Well, no, that's the other Doctor Who, you know what I mean. When I used to help out over there, my entire stream of recording was missing. I had to go back in and record a variety of sounds and agreements and one big speech for the beginning. And you know what? Absolutely no one noticed. But that's not what we're here to discuss. Every podcast has a missing episode. This episode was one of them. You see, I was so excited to record the review of this particular story that I took out my Tascam 8, stood at the bus stop at work. Yes, I was recording podcasts in the street. That's the level of rock and roll that I live. And I spoke for a good few minutes. Let's call it 10. Sharing with you my thoughts on this release. And then at the very end, when I finished, I turned the recorder over to press stop and noticed that the battery had already failed. I don't know how much of the original recording worked. Perhaps this will be the missing recording when I go back and check that file and discover that the only bit that's missing is the very end. So enough waffle, you don't need to know any of that. What you need to know is that this is a short trip. Now, I've avoided reviewing short trips. I've done a handful over the years, some of the prime ones, the meaty ones. But let's face it, if I was to start reviewing short trips as well as the main range, as well as all of the other periphery stuff, that's basically full cast, I wouldn't have any time to do any of my own writing. Or indeed, any of my own project at all. I had to draw the line somewhere. So, what I did was, I thought, look, if there's any really exciting short trips, I'll cover those. I'm not a monster. But as a rule, I kind of just listen to them and enjoy the hell out of them. I really do. But this month, there's a rather special thing. 9.2, the Astria Conspiracy. Written by, drumroll please, Liz Myles. Or LM Myles as she's known elsewhere. Or Liz from Verity, as she's known. She's one of our own. Yay! Doing the dance, one of her own's done. Well, yeah, I know she did Breaking Bubbles and Other Stories. Well, she did Breaking Bubbles in the Breaking Bubbles and Other Stories release. She's also a little bit busy, but apart from the fact that we're going, yay, because we are, one of our own's done well. And you know what? I am a reasonable but honest man. I do need to say that I am, well, let's use the word jealous, shall we? Because I am jealous. She's a podcaster and a writer who's working for Big Finish. And the main reason I'm jealous is because she gets to be the first writer for the Capaldi Doctor on audio. Yeah, Capaldi's at Big Finish. Now I know that it's not actual Capaldi, it's the Capaldi Doctor in a story read at Big Finish. But that just opens the floodgates. It's read by it's not read by Madame Vastra, it's read by the actress who plays Madame Vastra, Neve, McIntosh. And, well, for a start, let's just treat this like an ordinary review, shall we? Let's not show any favouritism. I mean, if I was to be overly enthusiastic or to show too much favouritism for something, well, then you wouldn't be able to trust me, would you? Like that's a thing. We're basically just mates having a chat, aren't we? Well, that's what I always think. Because in the real world, I don't really have any friends who I can discuss Doctor Who with. As many of you will know, my best mate died about 10 years ago, and he was my primary Doctor Who focus. After that, all of my Doctor Who-based chat was here, with you. I didn't think you'd mind. So, getting back to Liz. For those of you who also been following my reviews, you know for a fact that one of the things I don't like is a pure historical. They put me on edge. There is, of course, the celebrity pure historical or the celebrity pseudo-historical. Now, the only difference is that the celebrity pseudo-historical usually contains aliens. The science fiction element doesn't necessarily always need to be alien in origin. It just kind of often is. It does make your options limited, though, if you get rid of the aliens. But Liz has managed to spot a gap in the market, a flaw in the plan. What you do is, you get your pure historical, no aliens, but the sci-fi aspect, the Doctor Who-ness of it all, well, that's time travel. It's genius. You've got a nexus point. Well, more of a causality ripple, shall we say. I don't want to do any more spoilers. Tell you what, here's the trailer, recorded, hopefully, at the bus stop.
Synopsis. The conspirators sit in Antwerp plotting to kill King Charles II. Aphra Behn's mission is simple. Get former lover William Scot to turn against his treasonous comrades, but her money is running out, and the complications don't stop there. A strange Scottish man arrives at her inn with troubling news. William Scot is out, and the Doctor is in.
So that's a spoiler-free one, which is lovely. So what have we got? We've got what I can only describe as a cracking story. Neve does a brilliant job at performing it. There's an economy of language. Nothing is wasted, nothing is overly described, but nothing is padded, nothing is left out. Everything that is needed is there. It's like somebody's done a really good job of packing, and the storyline and the language used and the description just fits together wonderfully. You see, I don't get to discuss things like choice of adjectives in an ordinary Doctor Who release. You've got a script, you've got whether the characterisation sounds real and doesn't. Well, here it does. Capaldi's hair makes repeated appearances and is great. There's a lovely bit where somebody can change clothes, which makes me just smile. And most of all, when it comes to the historicals, well, I enjoyed it. I did. And not only did I enjoy it, I learned something. I didn't know anything about this historical person. I didn't know anything about her at all. So you know what? If the only thing that comes out of this is that I go away and listen to In Our Time and experience more about this particularly fascinating historical character, then that was worth it. But what I actually got was a cracking story told really well. And you know what? why not support it? Why not nip over to Big Finish and pick it up? It's an absolute bargain, and you can see you were there at the beginning, and you got to hear the very first 12th Doctor story. Oh God, I called him the 12th Doctor. I can't do this. That was the War Doctor, the 13th Doctor. I'm sorry, I've spoiled it. You can see you were there for the very first Capaldi Doctor story, and be smug about it. And let's face it, if everyone likes Liz's work, Liz gets more work. It's a win-win situation for everyone. So here's the trailer, and I'll let you decide for yourself. There's something lovely about hearing the Capaldi Doctor's theme tune coming out of your headphones or out of your car's Bluetooth speakers. More, please. And let's face it, we will be having the Capaldi Doctor with Big Finish at some point. We know we will. So until next time, when I'm sure I'll be talking about Doctor Who, or Missy, or a host of other things, or even partaking in the 20 for 20 project. Be seeing you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, Short Trips, The Astria Conspiracy.
He's not coming. Knee-deep in thought, Aphra hadn't noticed the gentleman come into the inn, but she certainly noticed him when he dropped into the seat opposite her without invitation. She looked him up and down, a lean, tall man with peculiar clothes and silver hair. "I don't believe we're acquainted, sir," she said icily. He blinked, as though he'd forgotten something. "You're Aphra Behn, aren't you?" He leaned forward, staring at her as though she were an oil painting in need of cleaning. "I am Mistress Behn, sir, and..." She closed her eyes for a moment, cursing her lack of discretion. "Astria," she said through gritted teeth. "I would be most grateful if you would address me as Astria." He frowned. It was quite an impressive frown. Something about the eyebrows gave it an extra dimension of presence. "You're not Aphra Behn?" Aphra considered calling the innkeeper over, but the stranger was so careless with her name she didn't feel it was worth the risk. She took a deep breath. "Would you care to tell me your name, sir?" "I'm the doctor." She raised an eyebrow. "You certainly seem to be in need of one."
Big Finish. We love stories.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. Short Trips release number 9.2, The Astria Conspiracy. Written by Lizbeth Myles. Directed by Briggs. Narrated by Neve McIntosh. Synopsis. The conspirators sit in Antwerp plotting to kill King Charles II. Aphra Behn's mission is simple: get former lover William Scot to turn against his treasonous comrades, but her money is running out, and the complications don't stop there. A strange Scottish man arrives at her inn with troubling news. William Scot is out, and the Doctor is in. Welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast, recorded while I wait for the little minibus at work to take me to the staff car park. Oh, the excitement of it all. Yes, I'm standing in the street with a handheld recorder, because I want to share a few minutes with you, my beloved and probably attractive listeners. You see, one of our own done good. Lizbeth Myles Yes, her, who's been interviewed on this very podcast a couple of times now, and famous for appearing, well, being part of the Verity group. That just sounds curiously weird, the Verity group. You know the Verity podcast, you've heard of them. Let's face it, they've probably got more listeners than me these days. Anyway, she's done good, and she's written something else for Big Finish. We like Big Finish over here, you've guessed that. But one of the things that I do kind of ignore a bit is the short trips range. Mainly because it's huge. And if I was to dedicate even more time to reviewing those, I wouldn't get anything of my own done at all. So something had to go, and I've never really embraced the short trips, well, range at all. I've done a few reviews here and there, but let's face it, it's a story read by a member of the cast. It's not full cast drama, so arguably, is it canon? I don't know. But are they great stories? Often. I have embraced them a little bit. I keep entering the short trips competition almost every year, and manage spectacularly not to win. Now, of course, part of me is jealous. She's one of us, a podcaster, done well. She's living the dream, so to speak. But anyway, enough about that. What we need to do really right now is to discuss, well, the story. Because, here's the synopsis. Now, as you know, am I or am I not a big fan of the historical? The answer, of course, is no. I'm here for the monsters. This story is read by Neve McIntosh, but there's no Silurians in sight. Nowhere to be seen whatsoever. What we've got here is that rarest of Doctor Who creatures, a pure historical, and that's why it works really well. We've got a story here that is just characters, just a moment in history, a pivotal point. And the important thing is, the reason that I liked it is because it's a bit of history I didn't know anything about. Oh, that's the sort of thing that gets me going. Knowing something, learning something. You know, that original remit of the BBC to go to educate and inform and entertain. Well, this one ticks all those boxes, and it's not even the BBC. Most important, beyond belief, though, is apart from the fact that it's incredibly well written, really atmospheric, and taught me something, is that this marks the beginning of the 12th Doctor's time at Big Finish. I know. The very first 12th Doctor story has been brought to us by one of our own. Be proud. Lizbeth can be very proud of this story. Truly. It's well written, well crafted, and well delivered. Performance is great as well. So here's the trailer, and I'll let you decide for yourself whether you want it or not. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is the beginning of something marvellous. It's the 12th Doctor's time with us. And you know what? I think Peter will be joining the crew before you know it. That's just speculation. It's not like I know anything. But if this story is anything to go by, Liz will also be giving us some cracking yarns in the future. Remember her